Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Calling, back with episode 303. Now look, my social media presence has not been on. I'm talking my TikTok videos, my Instagram videos, and then of course it goes to Facebook, even though I have like one view on there. I just have not had time. Since my kids started football, I can't even believe it. I'm one of those parents who are just like, it's every night. It's just crazy. But it's exciting to watch them grow through this, but I will eventually be back. I just have not had the bandwidth or the attention span or the mindset to sit there and do my videos, but I promise you I will be back. And I say that because usually if you're a podcast listener of my podcast, you don't give a shit about my videos, but I have some crossovers and people are like, hey, where's your daily dip in videos? And I'm like, I will be back. I'm just not sure. It won't be this weekend though, because I'm going back to my 20-year high school reunion. What the fuck? In Pennsylvania, graduated. I think I had said this maybe on last week's episode, but I graduated with 76 people. I think maybe 19 are coming so far. It'll be fun though. So this week, let's talk about this week. So on Monday, we woke up August 17th, Mars in Cancer squared Neptune, retrograde in Aries. That was not an action day, but lots of moving action, if that makes sense. There was lots of moving parts, lots of things you had to do, but your mind wasn't really there to want to do it. You almost had to force yourself to work or just, usually you might wake up in the morning and go to the gym. You're like, I'm not going to the gym this morning. So it definitely not a big action day. That was a day really to escape. The rest of the week has been pretty calm, to be honest with you. And then on Friday, the 21st at 8:43 a.m., Venus in Libra will go opposite Saturn retrograde in Aries. Saturday, the 22nd, the Sun will conjunct the South Node in Leo and go opposite the North Node in Aquarius on Tuesday, the 25th, because this episode is going to be a lot about next week. And remember, we are in eclipse season still. Tuesday, the 25th, Mercury enters Virgo. That we love. Mercury is in one of its home domiciles, and actually the one where in Virgo it's exalted. So it really works at its best, almost a little bit better than when in Gemini. And Mercury also rules Gemini, the air expression, but I think it ends up being even slightly greater in Virgo because that earth energy really grounds Mercury, where the Gemini is still, and still a little bit scattered. So with that being said, this then coming week, like I said, we're in the Eclipse series right now. So at the end of next week, we will be finishing up for a little bit until the springtime. We will have on Thursday, the 27th, Mercury and the Sun will conjunct in Virgo. And then on Friday, we have the 28th, we have the lunar eclipse in Pisces. So that means the moon is in Pisces opposite the Sun in Virgo. The lunar eclipse will be happening at 12:18 a.m. So we will begin this eclipse energy, honestly, definitely next Wednesday and Thursday, especially next Thursday, when the moon first enters Pisces at 3:03 p.m. on the 27th. So that is really going to be the day that we feel that leading into the weekend. And like I said on last week's episode, if you didn't listen, go back and listen, because if you're not totally sure how eclipses work, what they mean, the energy, I talk way more in detail about that. But this eclipse energy, the changes and the shifts will play out that week. That day will feel intense, but it will take up to about 3 weeks, 1 to 3 weeks, for all of the new chips to be placed in when the eclipse happens. And I said on last week's episode, I usually find in my own life it takes about a week where I see everything major happening, but it can be up to 3 weeks. So right now, we're in the middle of this eclipse season. Last week, we had a solar eclipse in Aries, kicking off a brand new eclipse series, like I explained. Kicked it off mostly. We did have that peekaboo eclipse with the partial solar eclipse in Aquarius on February, but that was just like a little peekaboo one. It just almost like, boom, okay, I'm just going to give you a slight little shift into what's happening. But this past solar eclipse in Leo with Jupiter in there was, I like to say, the first real kickoff to the change that is happening with eclipse seasons. Now we're getting ready to end the eclipse series in Pisces and Virgo with 2 more lunar eclipses. We have the lunar eclipse next week in Pisces, and then when we get to Pisces season in 2027, we'll have the lunar eclipse in Virgo. The one in Pisces next week, and then the one in Virgo. So we have 2 more. I was just thinking about this, though. I found it interesting that we began this new eclipse series with solar eclipses And then we're ending this current with lunar eclipses. So we're having a really strong beginning, a really strong, powerful beginning that we're going to like. And we're having a powerful ending for Virgo and Pisces. And we will like it because we all are in a good, Pisces, Virgo, mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius feel like they finally have come out of the blender and now they're a beautiful, beautiful smoothie. But there is still some final hiccups. I think it's more so just standing in your power, standing in your ground, having a deeper understanding, especially with Mercury working at its best in Virgo conjunct the Sun. It will reveal the mental awareness you need to take the leap of faith or change that maybe has been gnawing at you, but you kept ignoring that change. This is a time where you are going to have awareness, like I said, about how to move forward, where you are currently at in life, what you need to change. You have a sharp plan and a mindset right now next week when that happens. But this will bring a final message, Mercury conjunct Jupiter at the time of this eclipse, a final message where you are finally blocking someone or something in your mind and you are never going back. This is where you sharpen or clean up your life. That's say that your brain is a room, right? To give you a little analogy. And you did a deep cleaning over these last 18 months of your room. And you're going back to double check the details and straighten things up. That's sort of how this is ending the eclipse series for my mutable signs. So now, with this past weekend, we had Mercury conjunct Jupiter first in the sign of Leo. So there was this overwhelming desire to really look at the truths in your life, why you do the things you do, or like the things you like, or are triggered by the things you're triggered with. Mercury conjunct the Sun in Virgo adds a new layer because now you're taking action or you're compartmentalizing those truths you dug deep in yourself that you found last week, right? That are coming up to the surface, something that you've already knew was in that little purgatory between subconscious and consciousness. They're now undeniable with you. And I feel like since Mercury goes both ways, it's bust open those undeniable truths conjunct the Sun, or so we can be undeniable anymore. We cannot deny this truth. This is how I see the world. This is my self-awareness, or this is self-awareness that makes a lot of sense, or hides from the truth, compartmentalizing, like I said. So Mercury wants you to grow, change, and evolve. But if you notice yourself saying, okay, I have this awareness, but right now I'm doing nothing about it, I'm just going to compartmentalize it, just know that it will keep coming back time and time again and be stronger than ever until you do. That's the thing. Once you see something, you can't unsee it, and Mercury is not letting you unsee it. So you got to figure that shit out. Usually when we have eclipses, this is who will be feeling it the most. I'm like, okay, so, we've had, Leo, Scorpio, blah, blah, blah. This, you hear what I'm saying? Sorry. I feel like my brain is so scattered. I'm still out of it for whatever reason. But I think everybody with these eclipse series is going to have a taste of the astrology from last week into next week and stretching the last week and then 3 weeks forward, like I said, with the eclipse, but with these eclipses overlapping one another. And then having 3 big planets in the last 5 months, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, just ingress into new signs. I feel like everybody is getting a taste. Everyone's been getting a taste since April, and we're all going to keep getting a taste. But that always doesn't happen in astrology because we have Jupiter newly in the mix with this crossover, newly in the mix with the eclipses. Because next year, when we're in Virgo season, Jupiter will be in Virgo next year. But we'll be out of the Virgo eclipses. But still, next Virgo season, Jupiter will be there. So the main energy that keeps coming to me in this next year, with the eclipses starting and finishing with Jupiter and Leo for this next year, is going to be biggest is going to be truth, our own personal truths, the truths we see in others versus what is real, the lies we tell ourselves, the truth about what you want in life, having your true self activated, the revealing of truth. The old saying, truth will set you free. But it's hard. It's scary, that part of our brain. It's really hard and scary to have that. So I feel like before, social media before social media, this is a whole other thing because another big theme is authenticity. I feel like before social media, we were a little better about showing up authentically and confident in who we are no matter what that is. And being a millennial myself, an elder millennial that has witnessed life from the very start of social media. I remember before MySpace was, and then when I was in seventh grade, and I don't know if anyone remembers this, was this website called Holly's Page. And you would type in www.hollyspage.com/Colleen Dixon. And it would be this sort of one page, and imagine like what computer screens and like websites look like in 1999. And you would go on there and you would just like write some paragraphs, or you would add like a weird, I guess now we call it a GIF. That's how I say it. And you would like put that on your website, and you would be like, here, friends, come look at my website. This is what that is. So I am literally the beginning of social media, and I'm the type of millennial that's experienced everything with it. And it's sort of like all I've ever known since I was 13, 12, but in a different way. I remember life before it, and it was nothing like it is now. You were still able to be who you are and watch stand out. But as a millennial, elder millennial, I've witnessed, I've watched so many people in the younger generations, especially since TikTok. I think it fucking changed the game when TikTok came out during COVID. I mean, it came out before, but really launched during COVID. And I've realized these younger generations, and really being raised of everything in your face, are really scared about being their true selves, especially to stand out. It's like almost become not cool recently to stand out. And like I said, I think Uranus and Gemini is going to break that, where Uranus and Taurus was like, I want everyone the same. Uranus and Gemini is like, no, we're not the same. We're different, and we're individuals. And it does make me sad because I love individualism. I love people standing out. My favorite type of person is anyone who doesn't give a fuck what people think. And I don't care how that shows up in someone. If you can just show up in a room and just be who you are, dress what you wear, say what you want to say, even if I don't agree with it, I love those people. Right? In today's world, that like takes some balls. And I hope our younger generations get to that. And I tell my son all the time, Abram, who has a phone now, and of course he's scrolling, and I'm always like, dude, you're either going to like let the internet tell you what to like, what to be, what to do, unless you gain awareness of almost how to control it yourself, or you're going to go out there and find what you like, what you say, or what you do. So remind your kids of that. That's going to be a big theme though. Authenticity, truth. The next big theme is going to be these things happening very fast and sudden. The last Eclipse series seemed to have the life plot twists play out very slowly while they were in the mutable signs of Gemini and Virgo. And it also seemed to be a little stalled because we had Saturn in Pisces, and it was dissolving boundaries, building boundaries, not sure which way it wanted to go, right? When you're in a mutable sign, you're flexible. And sometimes that flexibility isn't great. It's like, okay, so that's what I'm saying. The life plot twist, we're like, oh, well, maybe it's this, or maybe it's that, or I don't know how this is going to end, and I don't even know what to do, but it's really drawn out here, and eventually it will come to an ending. But now, Saturn in speedy Aries, with a trine to Jupiter and Leo, and both signs have a sextile to Uranus, this eclipse energy is moving really fucking fast and sudden. It's sort of like, so instead of being more drawn out, confused, undecided, think about a Pisces, right? I mean, Virgos can still draw out because they're afraid to hurt people, but both signs like, I don't know if I should do that, or especially Pisces gets lost. Now, instead of being in that more drawn out, confusing, undecided eclipse energy, it's going to be mostly instantly sudden changes that change everything. Again, the other eclipse season, Virgo, Pisces, things seem to just go on forever, and then a change happen. This is going to be a time where it is quick. Like as soon as something happens, it's like, holy shit, that just changed really, really fast. This is a time where authenticity is the only direction you need to take now. That doesn't mean that it is easy, and it doesn't mean that it won't be painful. Letting go of people, places, or things, or parts of ourselves that needed whatever was there before we needed to change it, that can be really, really powerful. It like sucks. It sucks. That's one of my least favorite things in life, and probably one of my biggest lessons I've ever had here in life. It's taken me years. Is I hate when I come upon a time in my life when I have outgrown something, and it just isn't aligning anymore with my authentic nature to who I am today, currently. And I mean that at different times in my life that I have to let go. And when I say, I mean, it kills me. I used to stay in like the guilt. I grew up with serious Catholic guilt. And I used to stay in things way past their expiration date. And I still do sometimes, especially with old jobs, old bosses, old past lovers, old friends. If you were at one point good to me, or we had a deep connection, or I loved you, it is very hard for me to let you go. Even if I know that I should, it's very hard. Like when I had a couple bosses who I loved, but I knew I had to leave, like I'm telling you, that ate me alive. I'm not good at that. I wasn't good at that. That was my lessons here. Some people are really good at just being like, okay, yep, canceled. See ya. We're not doing this anymore. But I was not like that. So this is going to be a time though where authenticity, we have to grow there, leads to where we are today. And when that happens, though, we have to let people, places, or things go. We just do because we're entering a new paradigm, but that is so painful. But in the end, the guilt that we feel, and yes, we will feel it, we still have to move forward with what's best for us. So we are in our most authentic wants and needs. Because in the end, you end up hurting a person, place, or thing, or yourself, but also the other people if you stay in something way beyond, that you shouldn't be staying in it. Because eventually it will get great enough that you end up doing something that ends up being more hurtful in the end to leave or disintegrate or get rid of something, person, place, or thing. It ends up being because that guilt will eat you alive. And then eventually it leads to resentment. And then eventually you're just like, fuck it, I'm done. But if you can do it in a peaceful way, if you can do it in a way, even though it's more pain, believe it or not, it feels more painful in a very truth authentic way, but it's actually more painful if you drag it on and then you wait till something explodes. That's actually more painful, but it's scarier or seems more painful to do it in the more peaceful, calm energy. So now we have authenticity, we have truth. They go hand in hand. And then we have things moving fast and sudden. So I'm explaining these eclipses. The third one I want to add here is growth and expansion. And these are going to be the themes for this year. This is a time to expand your mindset, expand your truth, expand your circle, do something that is out of your nature, expand on what you believe, challenge your beliefs, and take on a new belief. This is going to be the themes of these eclipse cycles over the next year, essentially, but definitely the next 18 months. But the next year is going to be really strong with that growth and expansion, sudden changes, authenticity, and truth. Remember, those are the themes. This is going to be the themes of this eclipse cycle over this time, and especially while we have Jupiter and Leo until next summer. Take on new beliefs. Expand. Jupiter wants you to expand your mind. It wants you to grow. And having this Jupiter and Leo, the fixed sign that likes its comfort, it likes what it knows, it likes everything that is, it's really being challenged. And that's why I said my fixed signs are really being challenged to expanding their mind, expanding their truth, expand. In fact, I feel like fixed signs are going to have it the hardest with that. Mutable signs, they love it. Mutable signs love to grow, expand, take on new beliefs. Cardinal signs don't love it at first, but then they grow to love it. And fixed signs are like, oh, hell no. No to the no to the no. I am not doing that. But you're going to have to. With Jupiter there, it's almost like Jupiter is expanding, that you're forced to do it. So be open-minded. Being open-minded, I think, again, as an extremely mutable person myself, is one of the best things we can do in this life because nothing is concrete. Everything is open to change every moment at any given time. So expand on what you believe, challenge what you believe, take on a new belief. And this is your time to expand your mindset and challenge your mind in the best of ways. Challenge that baby. So I want to share a little story and then I'm going to end this podcast. This is going to be for next week as well. So I'll be back for 2 weeks. I want to share a Mercury retrograde story. And it sucks for this person I'm talking about. They should have listened to me. And I told them that to their face. But I love when the astrology really shows up. So someone very important to me in my life, who I love dearly, he got a new truck. And he didn't want to get a new truck. He had a work truck that he had to go get fixed. When he went to New Jersey to get it fixed, it was their fault. Luckily, it was under whatever it was, warranty or whatever. They called him and they said, hey, we have these brand new 2026 Chevy Silverados for 0% interest. And he was looking for maybe another car, but not really. And he says to me, so guess what? This is amazing. These 0% interest. Like, I'm buying these. And I said, ooh, it's the second day of Mercury retrograde in Cancer. This actually was happening in his house of material, the second house of material things. And I was like, can you not buy it for 3 weeks? He's like, what? It's crazy. It's 0% interest. It's only going to be like this for a couple weeks. I need to get it. Who has that? That's unknown, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I know, but I just saying this is coming out of nowhere. This seems too good to be true. He's like, well, I'm buying it. I'm like, okay, do your research on it before. Just do your research on it. And of course he didn't. Brings the truck back and within 2 days realizes that the screen like keeps faulting. It keeps not turning on, turning on, turning off. All these things are different. Another week goes by, the same shit's happening. And at one point they even like had their car keys in their pocket and leaned against the back truck and the car started. Like it didn't get hit a button or anything like that. It just started. So they take it back to Chevy, and the Chevy dealership that they bought it from in New Jersey calls them and says, look, we can't fix it. There's nothing we can do. Every single Chevy Silverado 2026 is doing this. There's a glitch in the computer system and we literally have no idea how to fix it. What the fuck? And I said, told you so. He handles when I tell him that stuff. True. And he was like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, this is the perfect example of Mercury retrograde. I can't even tell you in that. If something, and we don't have to worry about that until we have the Mercury retrograde coming in fall. If something seems too good to be true, it is. Mercury is a trickster. So when it goes retrograde, it likes to bring tricks. That is why, obviously, there's times you still have to buy a car. You still have to buy, but he didn't need to buy a car then. But you still have to, buy your house, things like that. But you need to do your research. Had he probably gone on to Reddit, he would have seen and just typed that a bunch of fucking people complaining about how that thing doesn't work. But he didn't. But when Mercury retrograde happens, there sometimes is a trick. And that was like one of the grand, like, I love when they happen like that, and I can give such a grand example because, it almost doesn't get any more retrograde than that. Like, Mercury retrograde, again, something coming out of nowhere, something being too good to be true. Turns out there were lies and tricks in order for you to get it, and then it's not working. So that's just my Mercury retrograde story. I've been telling people that. And he's like, stop telling people that. Stop telling people that. I'm like, well, you should have listened, but I can't stop telling people that because it's such a fucking awesome example of why we warn people during those 3 weeks, 3 to 4 times a year, often 3 times a year. Those 3 weeks, don't make any major purchases. Don't do this. Don't do that. Unless it's something that cycles back around. Had he looked at this truck and I said, wait, and then next year during Mercury retrograde, the truck came back again, I would say go for it. But nope. So now he's stuck. I don't know. I guess they're all trying to figure out what to do. I'm sure there's going to be a class action lawsuit or some shit like that. But right now he's stuck with this beautiful truck that is that the electric panel, or not the one that runs the car, but the one that runs the screen, only works once in a while. That is my lesson. Listen to Mama Colleen, all right? I love you all. Keep riding the waves of this eclipse season, and I will be back in 2 weeks. And please rate, review, subscribe, reach out, send this podcast on. Thank you guys for continuing to do that and making already into my 300 episodes, making it beginning to another amazing 100 episodes. I love you all and goodbye.